Hi everybody, the Mature Simmer here. So as normal, when I'm growing crops, I'm out here on the field this morning just seeing what the status is. So you can see we're in growth stage 4 of 6, which is great because after a little bit of time today, it's going to be a couple days probably till I'm back on. So that was kind of what I was hoping, where otherwise stuff would be ready for harvest tomorrow with oats if I had done that. So this will put me out 3 days, I think, because we're going to have 5, 6, which is a forage day, and then finally after that we can harvest. But I'm popping on here to get the second layer of fert onto my crops. So I need to go remove the herbicide, which I did not do at the end of the last working session I had. And then I can refill with liquid fertilizer. So there we go. At this point, ready to go, fully loaded. Gonna have to almost immediately start to angle over. But we'll run this as much as I can. Obviously, I do want to double check and make sure it's fertilizing. I would be very surprised if at this point we're somehow losing that. Whoops, I'm drifting off the edge. I might be missing, well, I know I'm missing a few plants there, but I'll let that go. So yes, it is taking. And yes, I did miss the little bit. Now, I had fertilized, obviously, a little bit north because of the planting, but I was on the plants, so I think that's from a different time. So I know I visually was in the right place, so I'm good there. But yeah, we'll be heading through the summer. We'll have the work done. At this point, what I haven't done, which I guess I can do once I get to the end of the row and turn around, is see, are we in better shape here with the barley from a yield percentage than I was up there on the north end with the oats, where we were at 69%. Which I think, again, was simply because of the lime requirement that I wasn't able to meet. So I've still got to keep that in the back of my mind, that I need to lime that field at some point as well, in the off-season probably, just so I don't suddenly get myself in a position where either I can't do it or I forget to do it. Alright, so because we drifted, again, I know this will be a pretty close move here. So, there we go. As I figured, it's gonna be almost a perfect overlap at the end. And here we go, 95%. So, much, much better. Way more in line with what I would hope, is that we could be getting a full yield off the field. And as always, I just kind of regularly now am giving a precision farming update. Haven't heard anything, so don't know where that stands, but I'm not sure we can get above 100% yield until we have that, and then again we may find this field has terrible soil, and then I'll be dealing with the consequences of precision farming. I was trying to choose my words carefully, not sound too terribly negative, but Obviously, that would be a downside that I'm hoping to avoid, but I would think an area like this, that in reality, large fields, I would assume it's pretty conducive to farming, and therefore would be in good shape. The only question with Farming Simulator, however, is it just going to use kind of a default overlay, which I think it would, and then I'm sure Giants had created situations where there's bad soil in certain places. And if it's similar to one of the other series I'm using where I do use it, because it's single player and I can do that. In my VIP series at Riverview, I do have the fields up north, and the soil type there is pretty bad, and I think that would be still the default map that would lay over this. So, but it'll be what it'll be then, and then we'll go from there, because I'm not gonna up and pick up my field. I mean, I suppose if it was like really, really bad, maybe I would reconsider, but my intent is not to make drastic changes just because of some result that I get from soil testing. The biggest issue, frankly, will be just the sheer size of these fields, because once again, since we're not able to use automation, what that has meant in the past with precision farming is no buying soil sample reports and having a contractor, basically do it. So we can't pre-buy the soil map, and that means we have to come by and sample everything, and that is not a large width product. I'm thinking I'm going to have a little bit there at the end, and it's definitely curved, so I'm probably going to have to do something there to fix that. Probably the simplest thing will be just run the end of the field, which is probably what I should have done already, and then that would have solved my problem. Oh goodness, I ran out of food again. Didn't realize I was running that low, so I'm going to have to remedy that at some point. Probably just do that after I'm done with this, but I want to make sure the fields are fertilized. I knew I was off for a few days, but I didn't think it was in that much danger of running low. So it's always a challenge with that kind of stuff. I was going to say my millisecond lag wasn't showing bad there, but obviously we had some sort of a stutter. So yeah, we'll be harvesting as always in the fall, and we'll be able to then, as I talked about when I planted, I'm going to have to make the decision of, do I hold any of this crop, or do I at this point just go ahead and sell it? Because I think I have enough right now that I could go for quite a while with feeding the pigs, especially if I forget to feed them. But it was a joke, by the way. I mean, I understand I need to not forget to feed them here. But so I could always then just do a full crop and store it like I was, but there's a little piece of me that's like, well, I would like to kind of keep money flowing all the time. But the reality is, even in that case, if I kind of deplete everything or I start getting closer, I could always be like, well, I'm going to keep 25% of my crop and I'm going to sell 75% of it. And that probably would be enough. Although, I don't know, maybe not. I mean, I guess that might be a bare minimum, because if I get a similar yield where I got about 200,000 off the oats, for example, and I keep, well, if I keep 25% of it, never mind, I was thinking it was 20,000, but that would just be 10%. So I'm like, if I keep that, and then grain is like 6,800 to fill them, I'm only going to be able to do that like basically 3 times, not even. And which would mean every 3 years I'm going to have to be making sure that I've got that crop coming back, and then because pigs need 4 things, it just gets more and more complex. But if I'm doing 25%, that would actually be like, say, 45, 50,000, I guess. So then that turns into, 7 or 8 years instead. So that might work. Because once again, like something like, when I grow potatoes, I'm probably not going to sell any. Like, I'll do the whole potato crop and just store it when I start getting low on the root crop. But obviously, again, I only need 1,700 liters for the pigs for that. So that becomes a simpler proposition. And I also don't have to grow a lot of potatoes. So once again, I'm still kind of in my head that maybe that little section there would become my potato field. And I would just use that as necessary. And then for all the other pieces, because there still is a very limited variety, and it looks like, I did ask the question, didn't get an answer from anyone that I would say was official. It was just another person in FSN that said, yeah, probably not. I wouldn't imagine that we'd be doing that, but doesn't mean it won't happen, because like I said, it wasn't like I got an answer from the top that said, nope, we're not considering that. But we used to have a lot of other fruits available in FS19. We could do coffee, hops, tobacco, poppies, and more. And so I was just asking, because I've seen on other maps that are being released, not in FSN, but on other maps, that there's crop types included. So there's a lot of Brazilian maps, for example, that are coming out that have coffee. And so my question was, well, now that this is kind of being reintroduced into the farming simulator ecosystem on this version, are we going to consider and go back to that in FSN? And as I said, I got some answers that were like, probably not, but they're not official spokespeople or decision makers for FSN. So I hold out a little bit of hope there, because that would just give us some variety, different things to do, different things to sell. I mean, in the end, if I'm being truly analytical and logical about it, it's not as if a different graphical thing of, I've got coffee plants on my field here. Like, the mechanics of gameplay are going to be exactly the same. I'm going to have to plant, fertilize, weed, harvest. It doesn't matter what the crop is in the ground, but it just still gives you that variety where you feel, I'm doing something different. And, maybe it just settles the human desire for variety, or at least this human's desire for variety. So sure enough, I've got a tiny little piece up here somewhere. Not sure where. Thinking it's right there. Probably totally wrong, and it won't. It might be in the right place. But at this point, I've sprayed along the edge, so I should be good. Let's see now where. No, okay, I did that row, so I came out of here. So I guess, yeah, I need to line up wherever it will take me here, and I think, yeah, that looks accurate. So go ahead, get that going. I think I'm spraying way early. I think finally I'm on something that I need, but yeah, I can see the dark border on the other side there. So that's where I'm at with that. But yeah, you know, crop variety would be interesting, but going back to kind of what the whole discussion of it was with the thought pattern is because there is right now so little crop variety, it shouldn't be too challenging or create a feeling of I'm being forced to do something that I might prefer to do differently, to cycle crops in and maybe have certain, you know, with certainty, some process of I'm going to keep a percentage, sell a percentage. So, you know, originally, I mean, there's a possibility I could just stay with that formula, you know, set a target and just do that for every crop other than, as I said, potatoes 100% will be kept because I'm not going to make a lot, and I would probably plant the potatoes because it's just going to be a small section. I would probably plant them along with whatever else I was doing on whichever half of the field was active that year. So it would be 2 crops that would be going in, and I would keep 100% of the potatoes, but for everything else, let's say we set the target as 25-75, and yes, I keep 25 and sell 75 every time I plant a crop that the pigs can consume. And that may still vary in some cases because, for example, grain, there's a lot of options for grain that I could use to feed the pigs. So there may be times where for grain I just sell 100% like I did with the oats, because I'll be planting grain every other year at a minimum or something, and sometimes maybe 2, 3, 4 years in a row, and then I'll have just an overabundance of grain because it's, again, the 3rd highest requirement. It's only 20% of the pig food. But something like, say, base food, which is just sorghum or corn, if I'm remembering accurately, you know, I've only got two options there, and likely I'll be doing sorghum most of the time because obviously corn has some of its own challenges, but, you know, we'll see. Because once again, I'm saying that, but I think now I've planted corn and sunflowers and I've not been forced to plow after that, which is what used to happen in FS19, but they don't seem to have that same requirement now. But point being, I only have 2 options where I have, I think, 4 or more on the grains, and so there may be times that I'll just be planting a lot of, you know, in essence, the likelihood of me planting a grain is going to be higher than planting either base food or a protein, because protein's the same thing. It's soybeans or sunflowers. So, you know, it may be that, yes, every time I plant those, I'm going to save 25%, and that will just kind of keep enough stored up that I'm always going to have enough to keep feeding pigs. But if I did that with grain, I'd suddenly just keep accumulating grain. So I'll have to see. But that's kind of what I have in my head right now, because what I'd like to avoid is what we did to start the pigs, which was basically no cash flow on the farm for 3-4 years, while I'm suddenly replenishing all my pig food, and all I'm doing is growing things to feed the pigs. Because once again, I don't know that that's realistically how a farm would do it. I would think it wouldn't be for exactly that reason. That would be a heck of a budgeting exercise for a farm to say, hey, we're coming up on pig food replenishment time. We need to make sure we've got enough funds to get us through the next 4 years without selling anything other than the pigs. You know, and once again, I mean, the way things were going here, I seem to be able to break even doing that, but once again, that was because I wasn't buying supplies, so I didn't really have actual cost happening. I was consuming supplies that did have costs, so in my profitability statement, I was certainly seeing it, but in my bank balance, I was not, and I was just able to get through 3 or 4 years without having to buy anything, or I had enough cash reserves to do it, that it didn't impact me that way, but that wouldn't be a realistic way to do it. So I think in reality, farmers would normally be, yes, I'm keeping a percentage of my crop for animal feed, and the rest of the crop is going for sale. And then what I would do, it would just be the exercise of kind of monitoring that and saying, well, with 25%, I'm still accumulating things. I'm making more. I can decrease it. I can go to 20%. I can go to 10%. Or I need, the opposite. Somehow I'd need to increase it. But the only thing I'm thinking is, once again, it may be like for base food, because first, there's fewer options, and therefore I might plant it less frequently. With base food, I might decide, I'm going to keep higher than 25%. I don't think it would go to 50%, but you get the idea. So let's see. Looks like I think we'll be good here, because I think right about there is where I ended when I was fertilizing down, so that worked out quite nicely. So just take a look. You can see getting a good portion of the field fully fertilized, probably a third of the acreage that we've got planted, so still got a good amount to go, but that's kind of the situation we have at this point. Nothing new, no new auctions for property have come up. JP's working away. One of the other FMs is away, has asked for some help if people can do it, so I think the other two farm managers, not farmhands, the other farm managers seem to have a handle on it. I said, if I needed to and I had the time, I would do it, but I frankly haven't had the time, so I haven't even asked if any help was needed. I've certainly been monitoring the Discord, and nothing's come up where people have said, hey, nobody can do it. They've just been kind of happily taking care of what he asked them to do. So I think they're gone for a week or so, where what I normally do, just to avoid complication and so forth, because we're not required to actively run the farm every single year. I've got time where I'll be away for about a week coming up. I'm just going to leave the farm alone for that period, and it just won't be worked. So, but other FMs choose to, take a different approach and say, hey, I want my farm to always be working, and so if they can get someone to work the farm, obviously then the farm doesn't lie fallow one year. And that's right now one of the nice things with, compared to FS19 and animals, where that's why I didn't have any animals in FS19. It's because my schedule was relatively unpredictable with work and other things. And so I didn't want to run in this situation where I couldn't get on the server in time to keep animals fed, and then they would die on me and I'd lose that investment and so forth. So, because that's really how FSN has handled it. It's been, let me see, I'm going vertically here, so I definitely want to move that over. I'll go this way because it'll actually be shorter move to get it to the edge of the field. Now, again, I may adjust this because I think, I'll line up on the line here, but oh no, I guess I'm right there. See, it's just so hard to see. Yeah, I have no idea where the edge line is. If you can see it, you're better than me. So, but at this point, it looks like Map-wise, we're right there. So I am just going to... Oh, I see. It hadn't refreshed, so there it is. It is a little cleaner, but at this point, we still needed to be over there for that little bit. Now it moved in, but positioning actually hadn't needed to change, so other than spraying some of the fertilizer early, obviously consuming more product than I needed to, no harm, no foul. We're good. We're going to get things done. So that's kind of the situation. You know, everybody's working away. You know, if there's another FM working to get on our server, because we do have space, it's nobody that's contacted any of us, so there's no chatter about that. I think one of the other people that was interested, it seems, you know, I don't know if they didn't become an FM or they just chose to go to another server, but they're not here. So, right now, we've got a few slots open, and we've kind of got a group now that we've gone through that cycle of people that have unfortunately had to become inactive, falling away, and you know, getting a new person on here at least, and continuing that FSN cycle that is normal of people coming and going as life circumstances allow them to fit in, and FSN is something they want to do as an active farm manager. So I'm going to keep working on this field. We'll get it done, and I will feed my pigs, and that will be it. So that is the plan for what will happen. But at this point, I'm going to let you go, and I will see you next time.